Marcus Davis sat across from his daughter Lily at the diner, watching her devour fried chicken. He had built a consulting firm from nothing. He had climbed out of poverty. But when he saw the little girl staring at Lily's plate, eyes wide, hollow with hunger, he froze. The mother tried to pull her away quietly, head down, shoulders tight with shame. Marcus knew that posture. He had worn it himself years ago, counting coins for a single meal, praying no one would notice. The woman turned toward the door. Marcus stood. This time, he would not look away. Marcus reached the woman before she made it to the door. She had her hand on the girl's shoulder, steering her out fast, like she was trying to disappear before anyone noticed they had been there at all. "Excuse me," Marcus said quietly. The woman turned. Her face went tight. She looked at him the way people look at cops or landlords, braced for something bad. "I'm sorry to bother you," Marcus said, "but I saw your daughter looking at our food. Would you let me buy you both lunch?" The woman's jaw set. Her hand tightened on the girl's shoulder. "We're fine," she said. "I don't mean to. We're fine." The girl looked up at her mother, then back at Marcus. She didn't say anything. She just stood there with her small hand gripping the hem of her mother's jacket. Marcus nodded slowly. He didn't push. He just stepped back and let them leave. When he returned to the table, Lily was watching him with wide eyes. "Daddy, why didn't they stay?" Marcus sat down. He picked up his coffee but didn't drink it. The question hung in the air like smoke. He looked at his daughter, her clean clothes, her full plate, her innocence, and felt the weight of everything she had never experienced. "Sometimes people don't want help," he said. Lily frowned. But the little girl was hungry. Marcus looked at his daughter. She was 6 years old. She had never known what it felt like to be hungry. Not really. He had made sure of that. She had never slept in a car, never worn the same clothes for a week straight, never watched her father count pennies to see if they could afford bread. "I know, sweetheart," he said, "but her mom has her reasons." Lily looked toward the door where the woman and girl had disappeared. Then she looked back at her plate. She picked up a piece of chicken and put it down again. "Can we take some home for them?" Lily asked. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. He reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "We can try," he said. But when they walked outside a few minutes later, the woman and the girl were already gone. Marcus drove home in silence. Lily fell asleep in the back seat. He looked at her in the rearview mirror, her head tilted against the window, her mouth slightly open. Safe. Loved. Protected. He had built this life for her. The consulting firm had started small, just him and a laptop, working out of a coffee shop. Now he had an office downtown, 7 employees, clients across 3 states. He wasn't rich, but he was stable. And stability was something he had never taken for granted. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept seeing the girl's face, the way she had stared at Lily's plate, the way her mother had pulled her toward the door, shoulders hunched, eyes down. Like shame was a weight she had learned to carry without complaint. He had been that mother once, not literally, but close enough. 7 years ago, Marcus had been a single father with no job, no money, and a 2-month-old daughter who needed formula he couldn't afford. Lily's mother had left 3 weeks after the birth. No note, no explanation. Just gone. Marcus had tried to hold it together. He had applied for jobs. He had asked for help. But doors kept closing. Interviews went nowhere. Friends stopped returning his calls. One night, he found himself sitting in his car in a parking lot with Lily crying in the carrier beside him. He had $11 to his name. The rent was due. The utilities had been shut off. He didn't know what to do next. He drove to a diner on the edge of town, a place called George's Place. He had passed it 100 times but never gone inside. It looked cheap, simple, the kind of place where you could sit for a while without anyone bothering you. He walked in with $3.17 in his pocket. He ordered water and sat in the corner booth, trying to figure out what came next. Lily was quiet now, sleeping in the carrier. Marcus stared at the menu. Everything was too expensive. The owner, a man named George, came over with a plate of eggs and toast. "You look hungry," George had said. Marcus had stared at the plate. "I can't pay for that." George had set it down anyway. "Didn't ask you to." Marcus had wanted to refuse. He had wanted to walk out. But Lily had been crying in the carrier beside him, and he had been so tired he could barely think straight. So he had eaten. And when he was done, George had come back with a second plate wrapped in foil. "Take it home," George had said. "Feed your baby." Marcus had looked at him. "Why are you doing this?" George had shrugged. "Because somebody did it for me once, and because I can." That was it. No sermon, no conditions, just food and kindness and a simple expectation. When you can, you do the same. Marcus had stared at the old man. George was maybe 60, with gray hair and calloused hands. He looked like someone who had worked hard his whole life and never complained about it. "I don't know when I can pay you back," Marcus had said. George had waved him off. "Not asking you to pay me back. I'm asking you to pay it forward. Help somebody else when you get the chance." Marcus had gone back to George's place every week after that. George had given him work, cleaning tables, washing dishes, anything that needed doing. He had paid Marcus in cash and meals, and eventually helped him find a real job at a logistics company. Marcus had worked his way up. He had saved. He had gone back to school at night. He had started his own consulting firm 3 years ago. George had died 2 years after that. Heart attack. Sudden. Marcus had been at the funeral. He had stood at the back and watched George's family grieve, and he had felt like a piece of his own foundation had been ripped away. He still thought about George. Every time he sat down to eat, every time he saw someone struggling, every time Lily asked him why people didn't help each other more. Now, lying in bed, Marcus thought about the woman at the diner. He thought about the way she had refused him, the way she had looked at him like his offer was an insult. He understood that look. He had worn it himself. The next afternoon, Marcus took Lily to the park near downtown. It was a small park with a playground and a few benches under oak trees. Marcus sat on one of the benches with his laptop, while Lily ran toward the swings. He was halfway through an email when he saw them. The woman and the girl, sitting on a bench across the park. The girl was eating a sandwich, slowly, carefully, like she was trying to make it last. The woman wasn't eating. She was just watching her daughter. Marcus closed his laptop. He studied them for a moment. The woman looked younger than he had thought. Maybe late 20s. Her clothes were worn but clean. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. The girl was small, thin. Her shoes were too big. Marcus didn't approach. Not yet. He just watched. He saw the way the woman broke off pieces of the sandwich and handed them to her daughter. He saw the way she smiled when the girl laughed at something. He saw the tenderness, the exhaustion, the quiet desperation of someone who was trying so hard to hold everything together. After a while, the woman and the girl stood up. They walked toward the playground. The girl climbed onto the swings. The woman pushed her gently. The girl laughed. Marcus watched Lily run over to them. She said something to the girl. The girl smiled. They started swinging side by side. The woman looked over at Marcus. Their eyes met. She didn't smile. She just looked at him for a long moment, then turned back to her daughter. Marcus picked up his laptop and walked over. The woman saw him coming. Her expression shifted immediately. She stepped closer to her daughter. "We don't need anything," the woman said before Marcus could speak. Marcus stopped a few feet away. He held up his hands. "I'm not here to offer anything," he said. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For yesterday. I shouldn't have put you on the spot like that." The woman studied him. Her face was hard, guarded, but there was something else underneath, something tired. "You don't need to apologize," she said. "I do," Marcus said. "I know what it's like to be where you are, and I know how it feels when someone tries to help, and it just makes you feel smaller." The woman's jaw tightened. She didn't say anything. Marcus glanced at the girl. She was looking up at him with the same wide eyes from the diner. "My name's Marcus," he said. "This is my daughter, Lily." Lily had followed him over. She gave a small wave. The woman didn't answer right away. She looked at Marcus, then at Lily, then back at Marcus. "Sarah," she said finally. "This is Emma." Emma didn't wave. She just pressed closer to her mother's side. "Nice to meet you both," Marcus said. Sarah nodded. She didn't sit back down. She didn't relax. But she didn't leave either. "We come here a lot," Marcus said. "If you ever want someone to talk to, we're usually around." Sarah's eyes narrowed slightly. "Why? Why what? Why do you care?" Marcus met her gaze. He didn't look away. "Because someone cared about me once," he said, "and it saved my life." Sarah stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned and sat back down on the bench. Emma climbed into her lap. Marcus nodded and walked back to his own bench. He didn't say anything else. He just sat down, opened his laptop, and let Sarah have her space. But when he glanced over a few minutes later, Sarah was still there, and she was watching him. Marcus saw Sarah at the park 3 more times over the next 2 weeks. Each time, she sat on the same bench with Emma. Each time, Marcus nodded and kept his distance. He didn't approach. He didn't ask questions. He just let her see that he was there and that he wasn't going to push. On the 4th visit, Sarah walked over to him. "You're always here," she said. Marcus looked up from his laptop. "Yeah, Lily likes the swings." Sarah glanced at Lily, who was playing with Emma near the slide. The girls had started talking to each other on the 2nd visit. Quiet at first, but now they were laughing, chasing each other around the equipment. "You really meant it," Sarah said. "About not wanting anything." Marcus closed his laptop. "I did." Sarah sat down on the bench beside him. She didn't look at him. She looked at the girls. Emma was smaller than Lily, even though they were close in age. Her clothes hung loose on her frame. Her hair needed cutting. "I don't trust people like you," Sarah said. "People like me?" "People who help." Marcus didn't respond right away. He watched Emma climb the ladder to the slide. She was careful, deliberate, like someone who had learned not to take risks. "Someone hurt you," Marcus said quietly. Sarah's jaw tightened. "A lot of people hurt me, but one in particular." Sarah turned to look at him. Her eyes were sharp, defensive. "Why do you care?" "Because I'm trying to figure out how to help without making it worse," Marcus said. Sarah stared at him. Then she laughed, short, bitter. "You can't," she said. "Can't what?" "Help without making it worse." Marcus leaned back against the bench. He looked at the sky. It was clear, blue, cold. Fall was coming. The leaves were starting to turn. "Maybe," he said. "But I'm going to try anyway." Sarah didn't leave. She stayed on the bench, silent, watching her daughter. After a while, she started talking. "His name was Richard," she said. "I met him 2 years ago. I was working at a gas station on the north side. Night shifts, mostly. Barely making rent. Emma was 4. I didn't have anyone. No family. No friends. Just me and her." Marcus listened. He didn't interrupt. "Richard came in every night for coffee," Sarah continued. "Always at 2 in the morning. Always friendly. He started talking to me, asking about Emma, asking how I was doing. He seemed like a good guy. Normal. Not creepy or pushy. Just nice." She stopped. Her hands were clenched in her lap. "After a few weeks, he offered to help," she said. Paid for groceries one day when my card got declined. Told me not to worry about it. Said he knew what it was like to struggle. The next week, he helped with rent. $500. Just handed it to me. Said he didn't want anything in return. Just wanted to help. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. He knew where this was going. I believed him, Sarah said. Her voice was flat now. Empty. I thought he was just a good person. Someone who cared. So I let him help. He paid for daycare. He bought clothes for Emma. He fixed my car when it broke down. And every time he said the same thing. I don't want anything. I just want to help. She looked at Marcus. But he did want something, Sarah said. He wanted me. And when I figured that out, when I told him I wasn't interested, everything changed. Marcus stayed quiet. He let her talk. He got angry, Sarah continued. Said I was using him. Said I owed him. He showed up at my apartment. He called me at work. He told my boss I was stealing. Got me fired. He told my landlord I couldn't pay rent. Got us evicted. He took everything back. The money, the help, all of it. And then he told everyone I was a liar, that I had manipulated him, that I was trash. Sarah's voice cracked. She wiped her eyes. We ended up in a shelter, she said. Emma cried every night. She didn't understand why we had to leave, why we didn't have a home anymore. I tried to explain. But how do you tell a 4-year-old that the nice man who bought her toys was actually a monster? Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. Not at Sarah, at Richard, at the world that let men like that exist. So when you say you want to help, Sarah said, I hear a man who wants something I can't give. I hear someone who's going to take it all back the moment I don't do what he wants. Marcus met her gaze. He didn't flinch. I'm not Richard, he said. I know, Sarah said, but I don't know how to believe that. Marcus nodded slowly. He understood. Trust wasn't something you could demand. It was something you built, brick by brick, over time. And Sarah's trust had been shattered so completely that the pieces might never fit back together. Then don't believe it yet, he said. Just let me show you. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she stood up. Emma, she called. Time to go. Emma ran over, breathless and smiling. Lily followed. Can Emma come back tomorrow? Lily asked. Marcus looked at Sarah. She didn't answer right away. Then she nodded. Maybe, she said. But the next day, Sarah came back. And the day after that. And the day after that. She didn't talk much. She just sat on the bench and watched the girls play. But slowly, so slowly Marcus almost didn't notice, she started to relax. Her shoulders dropped. Her face softened. She started asking Marcus questions. Small things at first. Where did he work? How old was Lily? Did he like living in the city? Marcus answered honestly. He told her about the consulting firm, about George, about the years he had spent climbing out of poverty. He didn't dress it up. He didn't make himself sound heroic. He just told her the truth. One afternoon, Marcus saw Sarah sitting on a bench outside a coffee shop downtown. She was filling out a job application. Emma was beside her, coloring on the back of a flyer. Marcus walked over. How's it going? He asked. Sarah looked up. She didn't smile, but she didn't tell him to leave either. Badly, she said. No one wants to hire someone with a 2-year gap on their resume and no references. Marcus sat down. What kind of work are you looking for? Anything, Sarah said. Retail, cleaning, food service. Doesn't matter. I just need something steady. She put the pen down and rubbed her eyes. She looked exhausted, like someone who had been running for so long she had forgotten what it felt like to stop. I've applied to 32 places in the last 3 weeks, Sarah said. I've had 2 interviews. Both of them asked why I left my last job. I told them the truth. They didn't call back. Marcus watched her for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone. "I have an opening at my company," he said. "Administrative assistant. It's entry-level, but it's steady. Health insurance, paid time off, $32,000 a year to start." Sarah's pen stopped moving. She looked at him. "No," she said. "It's a real job," Marcus said. "Not charity. You'd be working, answering phones, scheduling meetings, filing, managing client records. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work." Sarah shook her head. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because when it doesn't work out, I'll be right back here," Sarah said. "And I'll feel even worse than I do now." Marcus put his phone away. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Let me tell you something," he said. 7 years ago, I was sleeping in my car with my daughter. I had no money, no job, no plan. A man named George gave me a chance. He didn't ask for my resume. He didn't run a background check. He didn't ask what I could do for him. He just gave me work and paid me fairly. Sarah was listening now. "George told me something," Marcus continued. He said, "I'm not saving you. I'm giving you a chance to save yourself. That's all this is. A chance. You take it or you don't. But either way, I'm not going to hold it over you. If it doesn't work out, you walk away. No strings. No guilt." Sarah looked at Emma, who was still coloring, oblivious to the conversation. "What if I mess it up?" Sarah asked quietly. "Then you mess it up," Marcus said, "and we figure it out. That's how jobs work. People make mistakes. They learn. They get better. Or they don't, and they find something else. But you don't know until you try." Sarah bit her lip. She looked down at the job application in front of her. The paper was wrinkled. She had filled it out in pencil, erasing and rewriting her answers multiple times. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah asked. Marcus stood up. "Because George told me to pass it on, and because your daughter deserves to see you stand up." He started to walk away. Then he stopped and turned back. "Think about it," he said. "If you want the job, meet me at this address Monday morning at 9. He handed her a business card. Sarah took it. She stared at it for a long time after he left. On Monday morning, Sarah showed up. She stood outside the office building at 8:45, holding Emma's hand. She looked like she was about to turn around and leave. Her shoulders were tight. Her face was pale. She kept glancing at the door, like it might swallow her whole. But then Marcus walked out of the lobby and saw her. "You came," he said. Sarah nodded. She didn't say anything. "Come on," Marcus said. "Let's get you set up." The job was real. Marcus hadn't lied. Sarah answered phones, scheduled meetings, organized files. It was simple work, but it was steady. The office was small, just 7 employees, including Marcus. Everyone was friendly. They said hello in the mornings. They brought donuts on Fridays. They didn't ask Sarah personal questions. And for the first time in 2 years, Sarah had a paycheck that didn't disappear the moment she got it. But she kept her distance. She came to work on time, did her job, and left. She didn't talk to Marcus unless she had to. She didn't eat lunch with the other employees. She kept her head down and her walls up. Marcus didn't push. He let her work. He let her be. He knew what it was like to be waiting for the other shoe to drop. 3 weeks in, Emma got sick. Sarah called Marcus at 6 in the morning. Her voice was shaking. "I can't come in today," she said. "Emma has a fever. I don't have anyone to watch her. I'm sorry. I know I just started. I'll make up the hours. I promise." Marcus sat up in bed. "How high is the fever?" 103, Sarah said. "I gave her medicine, but it's not going down. She's been coughing all night. I think it's getting worse." Marcus threw off the covers. "Take her to the hospital." "I can't afford." "Take her to the hospital," Marcus said again. His voice was firm. "I'll meet you there." Sarah didn't argue. She hung up. Marcus got dressed and drove to the emergency room. He arrived 30 minutes later. He found Sarah in the waiting area, holding Emma, who was pale and limp in her arms. Emma's breathing was shallow. Her lips were dry, her eyes were half closed. "They said it's pneumonia," Sarah said. Her voice was hollow, distant, like she was watching herself from somewhere far away. "They want to admit her. But I don't have insurance yet. It hasn't kicked in. The guy at the desk said it could be thousands of dollars. Maybe more. I don't have thousands of dollars. I don't even have hundreds." Marcus knelt down in front of her. "Where's the intake desk?" Sarah pointed. Marcus walked over to the desk and spoke to the woman behind the counter. He pulled out his credit card. He signed forms. He gave his information. He authorized treatment. When he came back, Sarah was crying. "You can't do this," she said. "I already did," Marcus said. "I can't pay you back." "I'm not asking you to." Sarah shook her head. Tears streamed down her face. "Why? Why are you doing this?" Marcus looked at Emma, who was barely awake in her mother's arms. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. She looked so small, so fragile. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said, "and because I can." Sarah broke. She sobbed. Deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere she had been holding closed for years. Marcus sat down beside her. He didn't touch her. He didn't try to comfort her with words. He just sat there, steady while she fell apart. Nurses came. They took Emma back. They hooked her up to monitors. They started an IV. They gave her oxygen. Sarah followed them, still crying, still shaking. Marcus stayed in the waiting room. He called his office. He told them he wouldn't be in. He didn't explain why. He just said it was an emergency. Hours passed. Marcus bought coffee from the vending machine. He texted Lily's babysitter to let her know he'd be late picking her up. He sat in the uncomfortable plastic chairs and waited. At some point, Sarah came back out. Her eyes were red. Her face was swollen, but she looked calmer. "They said she's going to be okay," Sarah said. "The antibiotics are working. They want to keep her for a few days to make sure." Marcus nodded. "Good." Sarah sat down beside him. She stared at the floor. "I don't know how to accept this," she said. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "Then don't accept it for yourself," he said. "Accept it for Emma." Sarah looked at him. "And one day," Marcus continued, "when you can, pass it on to someone else." Sarah wiped her eyes. She nodded. "I still don't trust you," she said quietly. "I know," Marcus said, "but I want to." Marcus leaned his head back against the wall. "That's a start." Emma stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Marcus covered the bill. It came to $8,472. Sarah tried to argue. She tried to set up a payment plan. Marcus refused to listen. He paid it in full and told the billing department not to contact Sarah about it. When Emma was discharged, Sarah went back to work. But something had shifted. She didn't keep her distance anymore. She started eating lunch with the other employees. She asked Marcus questions about the business. She smiled. Not often, but enough. One afternoon, Marcus was in his office when Sarah knocked on the door. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. Marcus nodded. Sarah stepped inside and closed the door. She looked nervous. She twisted her hands together. "I need to tell you something," she said. Marcus waited. "When Richard helped me," Sarah said, "I thought I was being saved. But I wasn't. I was being controlled. He kept track of everything he gave me, every dollar, every favor. And when I didn't give him what he wanted, he used it against me. He told me I owed him, that I was ungrateful, that I was nothing without him." She looked at Marcus. "You're not controlling me," she said. "You're not asking for anything. And I keep waiting for the catch. But there isn't one. Is there?" Marcus shook his head. "No, there isn't." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Then I don't know what to do with that." Marcus stood up. He walked around his desk and stood in front of her. "You don't have to do anything," he said. Just keep going. Keep working. Keep taking care of Emma, that's all. Sarah nodded. She wiped her eyes. Thank you, she said. Marcus smiled. You're welcome. Sarah turned to leave. Then she stopped. Marcus? He looked at her. Why did George help you? She asked. Marcus thought about it. He remembered George standing in the diner with a plate of eggs. He remembered the way the old man had looked at him, not with pity, but with recognition. Like he saw something in Marcus that Marcus couldn't see in himself. Because someone helped him once, Marcus said, and he never forgot it. Sarah nodded slowly. Then she left. Emma recovered slowly. The antibiotics worked, but she was weak for weeks. She tired easily. She slept more than usual. Sarah took time off, unpaid, because she insisted, and Marcus didn't argue. He told her the job would be there when she was ready to come back. When Sarah finally returned, she was different. Not softer, exactly, but steadier. She walked into the office like someone who had stopped waiting for the floor to collapse beneath her. She smiled at the receptionist. She asked Marcus's assistant how her weekend had been. She brought coffee for the whole office one morning. Marcus noticed. He didn't comment. He just watched her settle back into the rhythm of work, answering phones, sorting files, organizing his calendar with a precision that surprised him. One morning, she brought him coffee. You take it black, right? She asked. Marcus looked up from his laptop. Yeah. How do you know? Sarah shrugged. I pay attention. Marcus took the coffee. Thank you. Sarah nodded and turned to leave. Then she stopped. Marcus, she said. He looked at her. I've been thinking about what you said, Sarah continued, about passing it on. Marcus set the coffee down. Yeah? I want to do that, Sarah said, but I don't know how. I don't have money. I don't have anything to give. Marcus leaned back in his chair. He thought about George, about the diner, about the plate of eggs that had changed everything. George didn't have money either, Marcus said. Not really. He had a diner and a big heart. That was enough. Sarah frowned. But what can I do? Marcus thought for a moment. Then he smiled. You can show up, he said. That's what George did. He showed up every day. He saw people. He listened. That's all it takes. Sarah looked at him like she wasn't sure she believed him, but she nodded. 3 weeks later, Marcus saw Sarah at the park with Emma and another woman. The woman looked young, maybe early 20s. She had a baby in a stroller and a toddler clinging to her leg. She looked exhausted. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She had dark circles under her eyes. Sarah was talking to her, quietly, gently. She handed the woman something, a sandwich wrapped in paper. The woman hesitated, then took it. She said something Marcus couldn't hear. Sarah smiled and said something back. The woman's shoulders dropped. She smiled too. Marcus didn't interrupt. He just watched from his bench, feeling something warm settle in his chest. He saw Sarah reach into her bag and pull out a juice box. She handed it to the toddler. The little boy grabbed it and drank it fast. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Sarah put her hand on the woman's shoulder. She said something else. The woman nodded. Then Sarah pulled out a piece of paper and wrote something down. She handed it to the woman. The woman looked at it, then at Sarah, then back at the paper. She folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. That night, Marcus asked Sarah about it. "Who was that woman at the park?" he said. Sarah looked up from her computer. They were the last 2 people in the office. Everyone else had gone home. "Her name's Jennifer," Sarah said. "Her husband left her 6 months ago. She has 2 kids under 3. She's been staying at a shelter. She doesn't have family." Marcus nodded. "What did you give her?" "A sandwich," Sarah said. "And your business card?" Marcus raised his eyebrows. My business card? Sarah smiled. I told her you might have work, part-time, maybe just filing or data entry, something she could do while her kids are in daycare. Marcus looked at her. Do I have work like that? Sarah shrugged. I don't know. Do you? Marcus laughed. I'll figure something out. Sarah's smile widened. Thank you. Marcus shook his head. Don't thank me. You're the one who saw her. Sarah looked down at her hands. I saw myself, 2 years ago, sitting in that park with Emma, hoping someone would notice, hoping someone would care. Marcus felt something tighten in his throat. He didn't say anything. He just nodded. Jennifer came in the following week. She was nervous. She apologized 3 times before she even sat down. Marcus hired her to do data entry 2 days a week. It wasn't much, but it was something. And Jennifer cried when he told her she could bring her kids to the office if she needed to. Sarah trained her. She showed her the filing system. She taught her how to use the database. She made her feel welcome. And when Jennifer's baby cried during her first shift, Sarah took the baby and walked him around the office until he fell asleep. Marcus watched it all. He watched Sarah become the person George had been for him. He watched her see people. He watched her show up. Months passed. Sarah became part of the office. Not just an employee, but a presence. She organized a food drive during the holidays. She started bringing extra lunches and leaving them in the break room for anyone who needed them. She didn't make a big deal out of it. She just did it. Marcus watched her transform, not into someone new, but into someone she had been before the world had beaten her down. Someone strong, someone kind, someone who believed in people again. One afternoon, Sarah knocked on his office door. "Can I talk to you?" she said. Marcus waved her in. "Of course." Sarah sat down. She looked nervous. She twisted her hands together. "There's a woman at Emma's school," she said. "Single mom. Her kid is in Emma's class. She's struggling. I can see it. The way she dresses, the way she talks, the way she holds herself. She reminds me of me." Marcus waited. "I want to help her," Sarah said. "But I don't know if I should. I don't want to make her feel the way I felt when you first tried to help me. Like she's being pitied. Like she's less than." Marcus leaned forward. "What do you think you should do?" Sarah looked at her hands. "I think I should talk to her. Not offer anything. Just talk. Let her know she's not invisible." Marcus smiled. "Then do that." Sarah looked up. "That's it? That's your advice?" "That's it," Marcus said. "You already know what to do. You just needed permission to do it." Sarah stood up. She looked at Marcus for a long moment. "Thank you," she said. Marcus shook his head. "You don't need to thank me anymore." Sarah smiled. "I know, but I'm going to anyway." Sarah talked to the woman at Emma's school. Her name was Rachel. She had a daughter the same age as Emma. She worked 2 jobs. She lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. She was barely holding on. Sarah didn't offer money. She didn't offer pity. She just offered friendship. She invited Rachel and her daughter to the park. She brought extra snacks. She let the girls play together. She listened when Rachel needed to talk. And slowly, so slowly it was almost invisible, Rachel started to relax. She started to smile. She started to believe that maybe things could get better. One day, Rachel asked Sarah how she had done it, how she had gone from struggling to stable. Sarah told her about Marcus, about George, about the way kindness had been passed down like a flame from one candle to another. "So what do I do?" Rachel asked. Sarah looked at her daughter playing with Emma. "You keep going. You accept help when it's offered. And one day, when you can, you pass it on." Rachel nodded. Tears filled her eyes. "I don't know if I can." Sarah reached over and squeezed her hand. "You can. I promise." A year after Emma got sick, Marcus stood in the community center downtown. It was a charity event, a fundraiser for a local shelter. Sarah had organized it. She had recruited volunteers, contacted donors, arranged everything. Marcus had helped, but it was her project, her vision. The room was full. People were talking, laughing, bidding on auction items. In the corner, Lily and Emma were playing with a group of other kids. They had become inseparable. Sisters in everything but blood. Sarah walked over to Marcus. She was wearing a dress, simple, blue, nothing fancy. But she looked different, confident, whole, like someone who had found her place in the world. "We raised $12,300, she said. Marcus smiled. "That's incredible." Sarah looked around the room. "I never thought I'd be able to do something like this." "Why not?" Marcus asked. Sarah looked at him. "Because a year ago, I didn't think I was worth saving." Marcus held her gaze. "You didn't need saving. You needed a chance." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. "You gave me more than that." Marcus shook his head. "No, I just opened the door. You walked through it." Sarah smiled. She wiped her eyes. "You're a good man, Marcus Davis." Marcus didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. Later that night, after the event was over, and everyone had gone home, Marcus sat alone in his office. On his desk was a photograph of George. It was old, faded. George was standing in front of his diner, arms crossed, grinning at the camera. He looked happy, proud, like a man who knew exactly what mattered. Marcus picked up the photo. He stared at it for a long time. "I did it," he said quietly. "I passed it on. Just like you told me to." He set the photo down. Then he pulled out his phone and looked at a text from Sarah. It was a picture of Emma and Lily at the park, laughing, covered in dirt. The message said, "Thank you for everything." Marcus smiled. He typed back, "Thank you for showing me it works." The next weekend, Marcus took Lily to the diner where he had first met George. The place had changed owners twice since George died, but it was still there, still serving eggs and toast and coffee. The booths were the same. The counter was the same. Even the smell was the same. Marcus ordered breakfast. Lily got pancakes. While they ate, Marcus told her about George, about how he had helped when no one else would, about how he had taught Marcus that kindness wasn't about money or power. It was about showing up, about seeing people, about doing what you could with what you had. Lily listened carefully. When he was done, she looked up at him. "Do you think Miss Sarah will help other people the way you helped her?" Lily asked. Marcus nodded. "I know she will." Lily smiled. "Good. Because Emma told me her mom is the nicest person in the world." Marcus felt something tighten in his throat. He reached across the table and squeezed Lily's hand. "She is," he said. "And so are you." Lily grinned. Then she went back to her pancakes. Marcus looked around the diner. He saw a young couple in the corner booth. They were counting change on the table. The woman looked worried. The man looked tired. Marcus recognized that look. He had worn it himself. He stood up and walked over to the counter. He spoke to the waitress. He handed her 2 $20 bills. "For the couple in the corner," he said, "tell them it's already paid for, and tell them to pay it forward when they can." The waitress smiled. "You got it." Marcus walked back to his table. Lily was watching him. "What did you do?" she asked. Marcus sat down. "Something George would have done." Lily nodded. She understood. 2 years after that day in the diner, when Marcus had first seen Sarah and Emma, Marcus stood in the same community center where Sarah had organized the fundraiser, but this time, he wasn't there as a volunteer. He was there as a guest. Sarah had been promoted. She was running the outreach program for a nonprofit that helped single mothers get back on their feet. She had hired 3 people. She had secured funding from the city. She had built partnerships with local businesses. She had built something real. Marcus watched her speak to a room full of donors and supporters. She was poised, articulate, strong. She talked about her own experience, about being homeless, about being helped, about learning to trust again. She didn't hide her past. She used it. When she finished, people clapped. Sarah smiled. Then she looked at Marcus and nodded. After the event, they stood outside in the parking lot. Emma and Lily were sitting on the curb, talking about school and boys and music. "I couldn't have done this without you," Sarah said. Marcus shook his head. "Yes, you could have. You just needed someone to believe in you first." Sarah looked at him. "Do you remember what you said to me? When Emma was in the hospital?" Marcus thought back. "I said a lot of things." "You said, 'Accept it for Emma,'" Sarah said. "That's what I did. I accepted help for her, and then I learned how to accept it for myself, and now I'm giving it to other people." Marcus smiled. "That's how it's supposed to work." Sarah nodded. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "What's this?" Marcus asked. "Open it," Sarah said. Marcus opened the envelope. Inside was a check. It was made out to George's legacy fund, a scholarship Marcus had started in George's name 2 years ago. The scholarship helped single parents go back to school. The amount was $5,000. Marcus looked at Sarah. "You didn't have to do this." "I know," Sarah said. "But I wanted to. Because George helped you. And you helped me. And now, I want to help someone else." Marcus stared at the check. Then he looked at Sarah. "He would have been proud of you," Marcus said. Sarah smiled. "I hope so." Marcus folded the check and put it back in the envelope. Then he pulled out his phone and showed Sarah a picture. It was the old photograph of George standing in front of his diner. "This is him," Marcus said. Sarah looked at the photo. She studied George's face, the grin, the crossed arms, the easy confidence of a man who knew exactly who he was. "He looks kind," Sarah said. "He was," Marcus said. "He told me once that kindness isn't about saving people. It's about helping them save themselves." Sarah looked at Marcus. "You taught me that." Marcus shook his head. "No, George taught me. I just passed it on." Sarah smiled. "And now, I'm passing it on too." Marcus looked at the girl sitting on the curb. Lily was laughing at something Emma said. They looked happy. Safe. Loved. "Yeah," Marcus said quietly. "You are." He thought about George, about the diner, about the plate of eggs and toast that had changed his life, about the way one act of kindness could ripple outward, touching lives in ways you could never predict. Marcus had been given a chance. He had taken it. And now, watching Sarah stand tall and strong, he knew that George's legacy was alive. Not because of money or monuments, but because of people. People who chose to show up. People who chose to care. People who chose to pass it on. "Thank you," Marcus said. Sarah looked at him. "For what?" "For letting me help," Marcus said. "For trusting me. For proving that it works." Sarah reached out and squeezed his hand. "Thank you for not giving up on me." Marcus squeezed back. Then he let go and walked over to the girls. Lily jumped up and hugged him. Emma waved. Sarah stood in the parking lot watching them. She thought about Richard, about the shame, about the years she had spent believing that kindness always came with a price. She had been wrong. Kindness didn't cost anything. It just required courage. The courage to accept. The courage to trust. The courage to pass it on. Sarah looked up at the sky. It was clear. Blue. Beautiful. The sun was setting, painting everything gold. She smiled. And then she walked over to join them.